Hello and welcome to episode 1216 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, September 11th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Had a nice weekend. You know, we are football fans. We root for forlorn squads, but hey, my boys took care of business on Thursday, which I was excited about on the Friday episode. The Commanders ended up winning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somehow
struggled
we beat
way
the
too
worst
much
team in the league.
at home. Y'all are at home playing footsie with way too much with the Cardinals there. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We don't need to go too deep into football because I know we got some football haters listening. That's fine, but yeah, y'all struggled way too much there. So yeah, a nice baseball football weekend. You know, the fall you can kind of taste it in the air a little bit. Even here in Texas, where it's still blazingly hot, it's at least getting a little bit lower at night, and you can start to feel the fall a little bit in the air. So yeah, I had a pretty good weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, it was all right. My brother-in-law, who's a big Niner fan, invited like some friends over and stuff to watch the game. And the Niners, killed
They
Pittsburgh. Like it
smashed
was,
Pittsburgh. That
and
wasn't
of
even
course,
close.
I was playing him in fantasy, and he only drafts Niners.
So you got
So
cooked.
just got unbelievably cooked. So.
Ayuk and McCaffrey just owning
Yeah,
Brock Purdy.
yeah.
Late
He
ass
he
pick.
took Brock Purdy in like the fourth round or third
Way
round.
early. He could have gotten him 10 rounds later.
Yeah,
Literally.
he could have got him off the waiver wire, and he had Ayuk and McCaffrey and Kittle and and a bunch of Niners
It's
defensive
a
players
good
and
it's a good team to, overstock on, right? Like there's a lot of talent there, but can always be rough if they have a
yeah.
bad week. But anyway, let's talk some baseball. And maybe we had to start with some football there on a high note because the baseball notes are not fun, and the first one's really frustrating. We're just gonna talk a little news and notes, and then play a little hold and full with three big name starters that you might not be considering folding, but you might have to. You maybe should. You maybe should at least be benching them. So we'll get into that. A little bit of a quicker episode here on this Monday. Let's start with the Jasson Dominguez injury, man. This sucks, dude. UCL injury, looks like he's going to have TJ. Now, hitter TJ is a lot different. The one thing we have to be careful of doing, though, is taking Bryce Harper's, damn near miracle return, just
Yeah.
amazing return, and applying that to other guys because we just don't know that anybody else is going to do that. So we're looking at missed time next year, probably at least like what, the first half of the season?
There were reports that he may not miss much time at all.
I know,
Take
but that
6 months.
again,
We're in September.
that goes full Harper though, doesn't it? To do that, he has to basically Dominguez has to go the Harper route to be that. I know
I'm,
it's
I'm
quick,
gonna
but
I'm gonna guess he's back in May. Um,
wow. I mean, he could. Again, Harper has changed the game here.
I think the big difference, and one of the things we don't talk about with Harper though, is he has not played the outfield. Right, he is only
Exactly.
playing first base, and
And they don't have room for that in New York.
is Rizzo coming back?
Is he going to play first?
I mean, I
I
guess
don't think they're going to just teach Jasson Dominguez first. I don't see that at
maybe
all.
they teach Stanton first.
I was going to say Stanton, but then
Yeah.
again, that brings me back to the classic Scott Hatterberg situation in Moneyball. Like, it's the easiest position. It is not an easy position,
Yeah.
which is a worthy distinction to make. So I don't just think that, this is going to be super easy and Stanton can just figure it out. So I don't know. Let's spin it like this then with Jasson Dominguez. Are you drafting him?
Probably not. A lot of it depends on the price, but
What price are you paying? That isn't unrealistic. Obviously, last round, whatever. No shit.
outside
But
of
he ain't
top
going to go last round.
200,
Okay.
but I don't think he'll go there. So
You don't? So 200, that's into the 14th round of a 15-teamer.
yeah, I don't think he'll go there. I think there's gonna be, especially if there's any good reports about like, oh, he's gonna.
Have fun with that then. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. There's no shot.
I mean,
50
I
round
think
draft and hold. I do not recommend taking
if
guys that
if you draft in the next month or two, you'll probably get him outside of top 300. And that there I'm okay doing.
Outside the top 300. Now that would be something for Dominguez. I don't know, man. NFBC style where there's no ILs, I'm not going to be moved
I'm probably
to go for him in any way, shape, or form.
Even like a 12 team standard roto, like maybe one of the last guys on my bench if I've got AL spots. Like, I mean, I guess, but especially in most of those leagues, it's not like Tout Wars where you have unlimited IL spots, right? Like you got 3 maybe or 1. Like, and is that the guy you want to be putting on your IL early on in the season when you know there's going to be injuries, right? You know someone's going to have a forearm strain and you're going to want to hold on to, whatever top tier pitcher.
And we don't know what Dominguez is going to be like when he comes. Like, this is such an unknown. I like Dominguez. I was so excited, man. I was ready to maybe even overpay a bit on the hype because, Yankees prospect, hitting the ground running, popping off. But now I think I'm fully out on Dominguez in just about every format right now, except Dynasty. It's a whole different game.
I mean, I think now's the time to buy low in Dynasty.
Let's talk that.
Yeah.
Let's talk Dynasty here because this is probably the most relevant for our purposes here of fantasy, because obviously you keep your whole team and everything. What kind of price do you think you'd pay? Like a general idea. Like, would you pay Mr. Flavor of the Month? We're actually going to talk about him in a moment. Would you pay Cole Reagans for Jasson Dominguez?
No, I want Cole Reagans.
Would you pay... Who's a pitcher a little bit lower than him then? Would you pay like... God, why can I not think of somebody that's like lower than him, but not just painfully lower than him, than Reagan, so that like you would definitely say no, because all the guys I'm thinking of are way too, like the next name I thought of was Ranger Suarez. That's too low, I think. You would definitely pay Ranger Suarez for Dominguez. You're not getting that. What about a prospect? You know what? Let's loop in our next guy that we're talking here. PCA, Pete Crow Anderson, gonna get called up by the Cubs here. Again, we're still talking Dynasty. We'll talk about his rest of season outlook here in just a moment. But he is a defensive monster, just one of the best outfielders out there. And it doesn't necessarily translate into huge fantasy goodness. We don't really know where his bat is. Now, he's had a great season. 20 homers, 37 steals in Double and Triple A this year for Pete Crow Armstrong. Do you think he's that type of guy at the majors? Is he going to be that type of guy? Because a lot of his reports don't suggest that he can be, 20-20, 20-40, as it were, in the minors this year. And if you believe that he can be, then of course you would do the Dominguez thing. But based on the reports that we have, he might fall short of that. Would you do Pete Crow Armstrong for Dominguez right now?
I think that is very fair. I think they are, they're obviously very different types of players, but I think they are, if you're just looking at like, hey,
well, Dynasty, maybe not though. If Pete Crow's as good as this year, though, right? Their power speed.
I don't think I don't
either. I don't either. I just want to be clear that people might see these numbers and say, why is Paul acting like this guy isn't a monster? Plate skills, like he strikes out a lot. Pete Crow Armstrong does. Yeah. His walk rate's okay. 9% at Double and Triple A. I'm fine with that. But you have to expect both the strikeout and walk rate to get worse at the majors. So if it's a 30% K rate and a 10% walk rate at Triple A, and you're expecting both to get worse, that becomes a pretty challenged plate profile. So most of his great work was done at Double A for PCA, and that's why I'm kind of wet blanketing his season a little bit, and I just don't want people to think that he's got the same sort of upside as Dominguez. So now with the injury, it brings them closer, and you think that might be an interesting trade?
Yeah, I think I would probably lean Armstrong.
You would take PCA then?
Yeah,
your Dominguez,
but I think it's super super close, and I think. What Armstrong has is that elite defense, and that elite defense, well, I know isn't a fantasy stat, it just keeps you on the field.
PT, yep.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those guys that even when he struggles, he's going to play. And there is, I think enough raw power, and I think we saw it at Double A this year, that, hey, and he made a swing change, maybe it is legitimate. Maybe he's a guy who can hit 20 home runs at the major league level and steal 25, 30 bags. I do worry. I mean, 30% strikeout rate at AAA has me skeptical that
with
is
a 16% swing strike. Like the swing strike rate's
yeah.
always there for Pete Crow Armstrong to say that the strikeouts are a problem. He rode some pretty nasty BABIPs this year, 351 at AA, 368 at AAA. And I don't know that we can believe in him as a mid 300s BABIP sort of guy for Pete Crow Armstrong. So we have to be careful there. Let's talk about him rest of the way here. So Dominguez, maybe try to buy low if you're interested. If you have the patience, now's the time to try to get in there and get a discount of some sort. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, the rest of the way, what do you think? Where is he a pickup?
15s, maybe. It always sucks when on a Monday a guy gets called up and like you don't get a chance to actually like get him for really, really cheap. Though, I mean, nobody's got money left, or most people don't really have money left. So,
true. And you're talking for the NFBC where you can't pick up a guy until they debut in the majors unless they've been drafted and then cut.
No, I'm talking about in weekly leagues where the fab is on
weekly.
Sunday.
Yes, weekly. But daily leagues, you can still pick them up.
Yeah, in daily leagues. I mean, I can't imagine they are bringing him up to sit.
No.
Especially with how good he is defensively. I think he's going to play fairly regularly. So I think if you need speed, the Cubs are a team who like to run, and he's got speed. He can walk. If you've got some batting average issues already, he may not be the guy for you. But I mean, if you're able to pick up a guy like a fastest finger league or it's daily fab, I think I'm going to the waiver wire and picking him up just on the off chance that maybe he steals 5 bases or something like that in 2 weeks, and all of a sudden like he's helping you bust up the ranks.
Yeah, Mike Tauchman has pumpkined a bit. He's still getting on base, but that's like literally it right now, taking a few walks. Other than that, he had a big 4-for-6 game here in September. That's really the only standout game that he's had here in about the last month of games, really. In fact, you go back literally his last 30 games here for Mike Tauchman, it's a 194, 324, 247 line, and he was playing center field. Obviously, this Cubs team is fully competitive. They need something better there, and even if PCA only brings the defense, it's the right move. So he's going to play, and I think you can go for him in deeper leagues, but just make sure that your expectations are tempered. I don't know that he's going to be a game changer for you.
I noticed, so last night I started my projections.
Mm-hmm. You psychopath.
Now,
I respect it, by the way.
Mostly what I was doing was like organizing my sheet, right? Like
getting some names and lists,
getting names and putting eligibility on players, right?
Yeah.
Because like right now, if you go to Fantrax or you go to NFBC or you go wherever to like export a list of players, it's got last year's eligibility on it, right? And so I was just going through and manually looking up each guy. Christopher Morel has not played in the field since like the beginning of August.
Oh,
he's gonna be UT only if he doesn't get a couple more games, I think, at like third base. And it's just one of the ones I noticed where I went, oh, okay. Like now in Yahoo, he'll still, he'll be eligible everywhere because or maybe I could
Yahoo
be wrong.
has lighter.
He actually might be outfield eligible. I could.
Okay, Christopher Morel, we're talking about here. He has. 23 total outfield games.
All right, but still, he has not played the field since August 1st.
50 DH games. He will not have second base. He's at 18 there. He could get it, right? There's chance for 2 more games for Christopher Morel. But your point here is well taken. If it's outfield only, okay, that's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
But I don't know if any league uses
playing time rest of the way with Pete Crow Armstrong coming up and one less, position he can go to.
Well, he's not playing that much right now anyway. So you can only lose so much more, right? He started against the 2 lefties this week. Christopher Morel batted first against both of them, and then only played against 1 righty. He's already in a platoon.
Yeah.
And does PCA bat left-handed?
PCA,
I think he does. In which case, this platoon is just going to continue.
Lefty.
Yeah. So Morel is just not playing that much. And when he came up, there was excitement, and I get it because he has power and ostensibly speed, but he hasn't really run this year. 4 for 6, 21 homers. But this is the kind of guy that goes so ice cold, and now with his playing time, that's pretty rough with Christopher Morel there. So yeah, that's very interesting. Anyway, with PCA, you can take a look at him. Obviously, we have a week to look in weekly leagues to see if we want him on the weekend, and we can talk more about that on Friday, or you guys can talk about it on Sunday. Let's move on. Did you see the George Kirby situation this weekend?
I did.
Okay.
Do you not see my sign?
I do. It says Kirby, more like Kerr not. All right. I have some issues with a lot of this.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I sure do. So basically, he was saying that he shouldn't have been out there for the seventh inning that he went out for, and that's where he ended up getting hit around a bit, gave up 2 more runs, couple hits, and in post game comments said, I wish I wasn't out there for the seventh. To be honest, I was at 90 pitches. I don't think I needed to go anymore. I'm actually okay with the notion of tapping out when you're done. I know the whole mentality of like, always say yes, you're a team player. I think a real team player understands his limits and says, I can no longer give the team value here. My big issue with him is saying this in the media. Like, why are you doing this to the media? This is a conversation with management. And why not advocate for yourself in the moment and say it? So I don't like his form here. My problem, though, is more so with the comments on it. Namely, somebody like Mark Mulder, who literally called him a pussy and tagged him on Twitter. I will say this, at least you tagged him. You can't have the same phrase thrown back at you there, I guess, because you at least tagged him. But like, I think that's lame as hell to be tabbing him as weak, bad, pathetic. I thought, I'm going to say I'm a bit surprised, pleasantly so, by Roger Clemens's more measured take on it, because I think if you're lining things up, I maybe would have thought he would have had a more chud level take, and he didn't. He said, this is tough to hear, would not fly in the old days. Unfortunately, this is how players are being taught with modern analytics. What are y'all's thoughts? I think that's totally fine from Clemens. And I think you can disagree with things here, but attacking him the way that Mulder just outright did, I think is horseshit, personally. Where do you come out on this with Kirby?
I mean, I think attacking him and calling him a pussy is out of line. And especially coming from someone like Mark Mulder, who had 6 good seasons and then was totally, his arm was done.
Fell apart. Yeah. Hey, brother, maybe if you had taken yourself out a few extra times, you might have had a career in your 30s. Like, how can Mark Mulder, of all people, not understand that, like, maybe a little self-preservation would have been good? Again, I cannot back Kirby on bringing this to the media. That's a bad move.
And here's the thing, like, this is a little victim blaming-y.
I get it.
But at the same time, like, when you say stuff like that publicly, you open yourself up to the criticism, right?
Exactly.
You could have just been like, you know what? I didn't have it in the 7th. I tired out. Like, putting it, not even taking any sort of ownership of it publicly. Like, you want to go tell your manager, listen, dude, you shouldn't have kept me out there. And then your manager can fucking say,
you guys can deal with that.
Yeah, you need to tell me when I need to take you out.
Exactly.
If that's the case. Like, but like, yeah, you should be doing this stuff behind closed doors, because now, I mean, the internet's just an awful place.
It's a cesspool, and you invite this. This is coming and I know what you're saying about being victim blaming here, and like obviously that's victim blaming is a bigger topic for more serious things here. But yes, we're like saying, you brought this on yourself a bit, which I think in this instance we can say that, right? Because again, he wasn't physically harmed or anything. It's like when people say that about like, what were you wearing when you were attacked or something? That's when the victim blame talk is very important. But
you're bringing this.
You have to know, dude. You have to know that you're going to catch so much heat here. And again, why not advocate for yourself in the moment? Where were you? Go anti Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey fought his way to stay in that World Series game, and we know how that went. Go the other way and say, hey, I don't have it. Like, I know we might need an inning from you, but I don't have it. I think I'm gonna hurt the team. I'm mentally done. I'm spent. I'm good. And then go from there.
let's be honest. I mean, in the moment, he might have thought he did. Like this may be just a matter of like, hey, I'm getting shit and I don't want to take responsibility for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like, how many guys want to come out ever? Like, I
Well,
mean,
and that's the thing though, too. And that's why go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I'm not a like premier athlete or an athlete pretty much in any sense of the word. And I don't want to come out of a game like ever.
No,
like,
and I
always think
get
I'm
that.
gonna be better than the next guy coming.
But then if he said yes, he can't then turn around and do this, right? If he said yes in the moment, then he's going to go out.
He shouldn't. But
no, and that's what I hate though, and that's why like Mulder's stuff, and like I get what Rogers is saying about the old days. This wouldn't fly. I get it. That was a bad mentality though, to just keep going and never relent, like, because you're going to let your team down. Again, don't you let your team down more if you go out compromised?
Yeah, but you're just never like you in the moment. You're just not going to think that these guys are egomaniacs. These guys,
we can be smarter than that, though. We can add nuance, especially in today's day.
Most guys aren't, though. Most guys aren't. Like
I get it.
Like you don't get like my brother-in-law has this like trope that he loves to talk about with football and baseball. He's like, they played harder because it was against this team, or they did this because they wanted to win more. Like all these guys, like these are professional athletes. They all want to win. They all have massive egos. They don't get to where they're at by like not believing in themselves. And so I'm sure on the mound, he thought he could do it. And then when he didn't, when he got off the mound, he was all like, oh man, they let me down. Instead of taking the ownership of it himself, you just don't voice that. Like a veteran player needs to take him aside and go, listen, I know you feel that way. It's okay to feel that way, but you don't say it. You said the quiet part out loud, and that was a huge mistake for him.
Yeah. But now, fuck Mark Mulder, dude.
If it drops Kirby's price at all in drafts next year for some reason, because you know how people love narrative building.
Yeah. I'm
gonna have all the Kirby.
I'll take every single one of them. Did you see, like, again, Longhorn here, and again, the one Longhorn impressed me, Roger Clemens. Again, I thought that was a pretty measured take from an old guy who could have gone full boomer. He could have gone full Goose Gossage, and everyone would have supported him because people were jerking Mulder's response and thinking how great that was. But Houston Street, I thought, did you see his overly dramatic response? He frames it like a letter. Dear George, this was the moment every GM decided you're not worth the risk because you aren't willing to risk yourself for the team. Which, again, shut up. When you look back on your career and wonder why it was at best above average, don't try and figure it out because you have no clue what it takes. Sincerely, the big leagues. And then he puts in parentheses, what I'd say to you if I was your coach or teammate. Okay, Houston Street. Cool, dude, because he didn't have it in the 7th inning of a game and then didn't accept responsibility and said a shitty thing to the media. He now no longer has what it takes to have an amazing career. What a stupid fucking take. Like, just so overly dramatic for no reason, dude. Just give me a break with that. I can't be bothered to take this shit that seriously where it's like, now this is a commentary on the career of George Kirby. Shut up.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have said it. And he's catching heat for it. He needs to talk with Scott Service. As I scroll down here, I do see it says, I recently read the apology and respect the gesture toward his teammates and his organization. So Kirby apologized on some sort. I'm unfamiliar with what that apology was. So let me see if I can find that. But yeah, he opened the door, and the dumbasses walked through. That's the thing, He shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But shut up, Mark Mulder. You're a clown. You're an absolute clown.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
You got your rant out? Do you need to take a breath? Like
I'm good. Okay? I'm good.
We're not in the same room, but I'm.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's because it gives everyone, like, they get so excited. Like, this is like such bait for the boomers to be like, yeah, dude, you're not tough. And I don't know. We're seeing a lot of people jump on that bandwagon. Let's throw it back. Speaking of old school, we saw an old school thing that was not cool. Cole Reagan's looking like Rick Ankiel. And we all remember Rick Ankiel, amazingly talented prospect pitcher. got the yips at the worst time in a playoff game. One of the toughest things to ever watch a player go through there. Even if you were rooting for the team it was against, I don't remember who the Cardinals were facing when he had that meltdown. You had to feel at least a little bit bad as he was throwing the ball all over the place, Bull Durham style. George Kirby Cole Reagans had a little blip of that in Toronto where he fell down on two. He threw 3 straight wild pitches. 2 of them he fell down on, and it was very bizarre. Did you see this when it happened for Cole Reagans yesterday?
I didn't see when it happened, but I did see it after the fact.
What'd you think? Crazy, right?
It's scary because this is a guy who's had 2 Tommy John surgeries, and all of a sudden,
yes,
he like not being able to find the zone is not an appropriate description of
no.
And you put the tweet there where people can watch.
Yeah, that'll be in the notes.
In the notes, so people go click that and take a look. But it was pretty frightening. Definitely be something I'm going to be watching for his next start. Is
6 walks overall, by the way.
Yeah,
so the command was off all day, and then he has these episodes here, and ends up giving up the tie, or letting the game get tied. So he cost himself a win there, which was frustrating for fantasy folks as well. I think he's saying, everything's okay. He only gave up 1 hit too, right? So he's still really difficult. He looked nasty throughout most of the game, Cole Reagans did, but 6 walks. And then this little episode here where 2 fall downs and then a 3rd wild pitch, absolute insanity. Obviously there's no action. You're not taking him out this week or anything, right? You have to...
3 of those walks happened in that inning.
Yeah, so, it was that meltdown there.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. I don't think there was any sort of velocity issues or anything like that.
And again, 6 punchies, 1 hit. Everything else around it for Cole Reagans was still hot.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. Again, it's something I'll watch for the next start.
He gets Houston this week.
So yeah, I don't think I would sit him for that. He's been the best pitcher in baseball, or one of the best pitchers in baseball for over a month now. So I'm rolling with him. Just something to keep an eye on, because if he does go out there and just throws the ball all over the place, his price, which was skyrocketing,
would come back down. Yeah. But maybe for a reason too, though. Yeah. I don't want him to come out and fail and have the price drop. I'd rather pay full price of Cole Reagans continuing to beast than have him, put these crazy questions about his command into our head and then that artificially lower the price. So I'd rather he just goes out and dominate.
I definitely want to go back and watch it. And I'm going to try to find some time today to kind of just go and watch it. Because was this a thing of okay, he kept trying to throw the fastball and just clearly had no fastball control, or is this on different pitches?
He said he caught his cleat twice on the 2 fall downs, but then he had the third, the other one that was just a wild pitch there. So, and the thing you really worry about is the mental aspect, right?
Yeah.
Does this become a thing? That's where the yips really get you, is the mental aspect of it. Steve Blass way back in the 70s with the Pirates. We've had some catchers. I think Mackie Sasser was a guy who had some issues with it. Chuck Knobloch over at second base, Steve Sachs, then Rick Ankiel. We got some memorable ones because it doesn't happen that often. We do not want to add Cole Reagans' name to the list. Right now, we're nowhere near doing that. Just monitor him. I think everything should be hopefully okay. And he thinks, he just caught his cleat. No worries. No harm, no foul. But it was a bizarre scene in Toronto for sure.
It was really weird.
Andrew Abbott won't start Wednesday. This seems like innings management, so I might not put him in at all. I mean, they might just be moving him back. Wednesday was going to be his day. It's going to be Connor Phillips. They haven't said if he's going to start during the week, though. So I guess my question for you is then, are you risking it? Since he's been pushed off of Wednesday, and we don't know if he's going to fill in, Thursday or on the weekend, what are you doing with Abbott this week? This is a tough week to miss because it's Detroit and the Mets. Either team that he would go against would be a decent outing, but he's got 130-something innings, and I wonder if this is just a full week rest for him.
Yeah, right now we have him pegged on Roster Resource as going Thursday. Again,
yeah, everything just pushed him back. RotoWire did the same, but I don't know if that's true.
I think I would risk it just because, I really like Abbott and all the starts he's either, if he does pitch this week, he's going to get the Mets or the Tigers on the road, both really good places to pitch.
Yes.
And so I think I would risk it. But I definitely understand people in weekly leagues not wanting to.
They don't play today, so you get a little extra time. Just hopefully you have somebody else that doesn't play today, which is rare, by the way, because it's a pretty full day.
Yeah.
So actually, the Tigers are the only other team that doesn't play. So if you don't have like a Tiger backup, you can't really make the decision. You have to kind of make the decision on Monday, the 11th
a very
here.
full week. No teams have 5 games.
And there's a doubleheader today to make up for those 2 teams off, so we still have a full slate.
And I think there's only 1 team or maybe 2 teams that have a 5-game slate the rest of the way.
The rest of the way, good.
In any week. So
we got those out of the way. Let's play baseball down the stretch here. I don't like the 5-day weeks. They're fine in general, but I just, I hate like when it's one of my favorite teams or a team that I've got multiple fantasy. When Houston had one this week or this year, it was always tough because I got Bregman, Yainer Diaz, and Kyle Tucker, and I'm like, oh, there goes half my offense. And we're going to talk some Houston here in a moment. Actually, right now, we're going to play a little hold and fold. Hold or fold rather. And I honestly could have maybe done like 3 Houston starters. I did 2 Houston starters and then a Philadelphia one. And it's tough decision time here down the stretch. And we can kind of pair the 2 guys together, Brown and Javier, who we're going to talk about, because they've both been struggling and they both now landed. Would you believe this? They have exactly 141 in the 3rd innings each, and they both have a 4.78 ERA. I love the symmetry there between those 2. But for those to both be at 4.78 tells you how bad they've been, because these were 2 of the best guys going in the first half, Javier and Brown. They were excellent. Brown, 8.25 ERA and a 1.79 whip in his last 6 outings. That's outings instead of starts because there is 1 relief appearance in there. Are you going to hold or fold on Hunter Brown right now? I'm not talking necessarily about starting him. I'm talking about even having him on your team. Now, the tough part is it's Oakland this week.
Yeah.
So there's a real challenge, but then it's Baltimore after that. He's been bad. Where you at on Hunter Brown, hold or fold?
Oakland is so bad. Like, they are so bad. And he's actually pitched really well at home this season. Hunter Brown has. So I think
Oakland keeps me in personally.
Yeah. Actually, I'm wrong. He's pitched really poorly at home.
Oh, home's where he struggled. I see this now. Oh my God, yeah, 607, 164 ERA whip combo.
I still just don't know how you bench him for home versus Oakland. Like,
it seems really difficult to do. Is it 383 BABIP at home? Oakland doesn't strike me as the kind of team that's going to take advantage of something like that and keep the BABIP going.
Yeah, and all 3 of his starts versus Oakland have been fantastic starts.
If he's modest or worse, let's say the modest bar starts at like 6 innings, 4 runs, right? So just shy of a quality start. If he's anything like that or worse for Brown, are you cutting him with Baltimore next week?
Yes. I think I'm cutting no matter what. I think I am cutting after
This is it?
Oakland. I think you give him Oakland because the Baltimore start's going to be at home, and then he would.
What's he got after that, or what's he line up for? Yeah, we don't know for sure, but what's he line up for?
He's starting on Wednesday, so that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Wednesday, and then he's at Seattle. I think I'm dropping him after this. So
Hunter Brown.
Way, I'm
Oakland, yes, we're keeping him this week, but then we're probably moving on. Even if it's a gem because of the matchups coming up. Now, that's in shallower leagues. In 15s, I think you still, if you're holding this week, you're probably still holding beyond. Well, maybe not. We'll see. And by the way, the reason I didn't do 3 Houston guys is 1, JP Francis kind of smoothed out, but he also gets KC back-to-back coming up. So that's why I didn't even include him. But Javier's the other one. 6.21 ERA, 162 whip in his last 7 outings. It's been rough, and you can go back even further than that. Like, pretty much his entire second half has sucked. Where are you at on Cristian Javier? Because he's really been difficult to trust. I don't know the last time he's had a good start, Justin. What are you doing with Cristian Javier? It's 5.58, 144 for the second half, by the way, 50 innings.
So Javier is the one who's been really good at home and bad on the road. And of course, he gets a road start.
He gets a road start
at Kansas City. And then he will line up for the home start versus Baltimore. Again, like, I just don't know how you don't use him versus Kansas City. And then I think you reassess, because it would be home versus Baltimore, and again away versus Seattle. So um, I don't know how you don't roll him out for one more and not, just eat it if it's bad. But it
It
been
seems
bad.
tough. Yeah.
I mean, to be quite honest, you probably should have dropped both these guys a while ago.
True, but it's just so. I mean, that's one of the biggest
In
the
deeper
most
leagues,
difficult
it's
parts down
really,
the stretch is identifying these guys that were so good to you for so long, but they've clearly hit the skids. With Brown, maybe it's a stamina thing. His first big full season here in the majors. I'm not worried about Brown for the future,
on
even 1%. By the way,
on the plus side, I mean, Javier has been bad for 4 months.
that's true.
If you have been starting him, you're probably not competing right now anyways.
So maybe it doesn't matter. If you've got him, you've already tanked your team.
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter at this point.
Well, the problem back in June, I'd say more 3 months. Like his first 2 months were great. 4+ months. I get what you're saying because September's already been bad.
Yeah.
But the problem back in June and even into July is there were gems mixed in with the duds was the problem.
Yeah.
And so every time it looked like, okay, we have to get rid of him, he'd go 6 scoreless or 6 innings, 1 run against the Angels, or 5 2/3, 1 hit, 2 runs against Oakland, right? So that shit made it difficult to feel confident on when to get rid of Javier. But since then, like the second half's just been an absolute nightmare. I hope that you don't even have Javier anymore in a 10-teamer. I think he's long overdue for a cut there. All right, then our last one. And this one, the reason I ended up putting him on is because initially you look at Aaron Nola and you say, yeah, it's a 4.64 ERA, which is legitimately rough, but it's a 1.16 whip. So you take the whip and you have win potential. He has 12 wins. But the reason I still decided to include him is because it's a 127 whip with a 5.18 ERA in his last 10 outings, which is the second half. 127 whip, it's not killing you, but it's certainly not great. So you're not even getting the good whip. It was a 111 with a 4.39 ERA in the first half. Should you still be riding Nola in shallower leagues right now?
I mean, here's the thing. You're at St. Louis. I think you probably need to just roll with him there. But then next week you're home versus Atlanta. You're definitely not rolling with him there, right? Like I don't care if he throws a no-hitter against St. Louis. Like I'm not rolling him out against Atlanta.
And I don't know if I love the St. Louis trip even. St. Bush is not bad to pitch in, but again, that Cardinals team, they can.
And then you finish with potentially, it looks like a 2-step, or actually, oh no.
By the way, while you're looking that up,
I think it's gonna be a 2-step next week at Atlanta home versus the Mets.
Ooh. Are you moved at all by Nola having a home road split, heavily disadvantaging him on the road? 5.18, 127 on the. Oh, wait, that's the second half, first half. 5.66, 130 on the road, 3.44, 1 flat at home. Does that influence your trip to St. Louis with Nola a bit?
Well, the hard part is 3 of his last 4 starts are going to be on the road. If it lines up the way it should line up.
And that's where he sucks most. And if an Atlanta start is included, I cut Christopher Sanchez this week because he's lined up for back-to-back Atlanta.
Yeah.
So hold or fold on Nola. I'm folding in 10s and 12s for sure. 15s, it's still tough. It's still
holding,
tough.
But I'm also super stubborn and not very bright. So
hasn't hurt you too much. You're in the midst of a nice season, so some of that stubbornness
could be a very nice season. It could be a very disappointing season, as the pack has caught me in a number.
Talk about that one league. Tell people about that one league that is like 10 teams competing almost. It's insane.
I did mention it yesterday on the pod, but my main event league right now has 7 teams competing. And when I mean 7 teams competing, I mean, as of today, first place, and the difference between first place and 7th place, I believe, is 3 points.
Oh my God.
And it is unreal. I started Saturday in first place. I finished Saturday in 7th place, and I'm currently in 3rd place. It is just unreal. Right now, 2.5 points is the difference between 1st and 7th. Right now, it's going to be decided by the last game, and we're also talking about some of the best players in the world. Matt Modica, Jason Anthony, Batflip Crazy,
Batflip Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Griffin Benger.
Yeah, it's
Chris Fessler.
It is.
Fessler's not in the mix. Sorry, he's in 8th.
Yeah,
there. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just an unreal league right now.
The crazy part is it is an unreal league, and the bottom half of the league is filled with studs. You do have some great competitors in the top, but then you got KJ Duke, Dusty Wagner, Lindy Hinkelman, Gene McCaffrey in the bottom half. Imagine if they had good seasons. You could have realistically had like 13 teams competing here. The fact that it's 100.5 to 103 from 1st to 7th is crazy.
It is further confirmation bias for me that I probably will never do another Vegas main. The leagues are just so much tougher than the regular leags.
Because the studs all go out there and us.
It's unreal. I'm enjoying it. I had such a weird draft that I'm just glad to be kind of a part of things, and I picked up a reliever just to try to, and I think I'm going to be starting 4 or 5 relievers this week just to try to preserve my ratios. And this is a really important thing that people need to be doing, especially if you're in roto leagues. Obviously, if you're in head-to-head leagues, it's a little bit different, but in roto leagues, you need to be playing to the standings right now, and
100%. And you should have been for a while.
Yeah, and I can gain 7 points in ERA and WHIP, and I can also lose points in ERA and WHIP. And I can only gain maybe a point or 2 each in strikeouts or wins. I'm going really reliever heavy in that league to try to see if I can repair some damage Peter Lambert and other guys, Jesse Schultens, did to my ratios this last week, trying to chase wins and strikeouts. And we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I know what's going to happen.
What's that?
In 2020, I was in a league with Dusty Wagner. Dusty's in this league. And on the last, I think it was the second to last at bat of this season, all the other games had finished. The Reds were the only ones still playing. Eugenio Suarez got a hit, and Dusty jumped me in batting average, and he cashed, and I didn't. And I know this is going to happen again. I absolutely know. And so, while I'm really excited to try to take this whole league down, I know the last at bat of the season, some knucklehead is going to hit a home run.
Suarez, of all people, helping batting average, right?
Off of one of my pitchers. Right now, I'm going to go look and see who the Mariners are playing on the last day of the season.
That's the team you're afraid of.
Because Eugenio Suarez currently now on the Mariners. So they're playing the Rangers.
Okay.
And if you think I'm going to start Jose Leclerc or Will Smith the last week of the season, because I think they're both still on my team.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Because I know Eugenio Suarez will come up against Will Smith in the bottom of the 9th inning.
You know he's cooking. You know he's cooking him.
Hit a home run, and I'll be screwed. So
that would suck.
Yeah. Before we go, I'm gonna go do my chat here in a little bit. I know you got some stuff to do. I need to thank you publicly on the podcast for putting forth an effort in our head-to-head league in the last week of the regular season, which was this last week.
Yeah.
And because you did, I made the playoffs. I was tied for the 4th seed, but I did not have the tiebreaker. And going into the last,
I had a valiant fight.
Yeah, going into the last day, we both had a 6-4 lead, and if it ended that way, I was going to be the last man out of the playoffs. I ended up pulling out a 7-3 victory. He pulled out a 6-4 victory over you. And I am in the playoffs. So good luck to all of you in the Sleeper and the Bus.
Yes, good luck to everybody. Y'all cooked
Categories me. League. It is playoff time. I am hoping that I have just backdoored my way to a championship.
I'm back in next year, though, ready to rock.
Yep,
I
me
need,
as
I
well.
need, I need to be great. And you know what? I'll maybe have my lineup set for the first week
That
because
that
Yahoo
might
put
be helpful.
everyone on the bench, which again, my fault. Shouldn't have assumed, but I'm not thinking that I have an empty lineup. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. I was not fine, and Justin couldn't even. My
Yeah, it
opponent
wouldn't let me
said he
do
would have
anything.
been fine. I was like, hey, do you mind if we put in some guys here? You know, I'm not trying to scam you or anything. He's like, yeah. It wouldn't even let you.
Yeah.
Like there's no commission mode to even get around it to even let you do that. So it's like, okay, well, I pretty much lost that week, and then that snowballed from there, and I had a rough one. But good luck in that. Good luck to everyone in their playoffs. Everyone trying to chase down these titles. Every stat matters. You know, we see it play out so often. Keep your foot on the pedal. Even me, you know, I told you guys I've been fighting. I've actually evaporated a bit. Actually, teams have more caught me because my standing in the overall is actually pretty similar to where it's been, but a few teams have caught me. Third is probably not going to happen. Then that's the cash spot in the NFBC. I'm still fighting for fourth though. I don't give a shit. I fell down to sixth here. I want those 4 points back. I want to get into fourth. I don't gain anything for it. I just want to finish as high as I can. And that's all there is to it. I just want to keep playing till the end. But anyway, Justin, good luck to you with everything. We will talk more on Friday. Until then, take care.
Take it easy.